Welcome back. My guest this segment is Peter Grosskopf. He's the CEO of Sprott Inc., trading on the TSX under symbol SII. Peter, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Peter, we could talk forever about Sprott and all of its various peregrinations, but today I want to talk to you about the OneGold product that I was recently received an email about. What is OneGold?
Great. Well, it's brand new. It's basically the customer organization that we've set up to be able to buy and sell and trade and hold digital gold.
And how would you describe digital gold?
So for us, digital gold is on the blockchain, and it's using all of the technology that had the cryptocurrencies become the focus of investor attention. They're fast, they're accurate, and in this case, it has physical gold as its backing. So it's a technology that represents a certificate of the gold in storage. In this case, our first product is at the Royal Canadian Mint.
Okay, so does it come with an associated crypto coin?
It's not a coin, it's a certificate, but
Okay.
the certificate has the blockchain underlying it.
And so is there a basic unit value of gold per
Yeah,
basic
we
unit
can
value?
denominate it in any unit for an investor.
Right. Okay, interesting. And so it's backed by physical gold, and
It is,
and
yeah,
that's
which is our favorite.
yeah, right. Well, coming from a Sprott organization, that's
Right.
very comforting.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now what would be the practical application for OneGold as either an investor or is it to be used by individuals as a unit of payment?
It will eventually. So we're starting just with the website, which allows you as an individual investor to make a buy or a sell of gold faster, quicker, and cheaper than you've ever been able to do it before through a commercial bank or an ETF. And so that's the essence of it to start with. It's just very efficient, and you can hold your gold on account with OneGold.
Okay.
And then eventually we'll get into having a wallet and being able to use that wallet for payment for goods and services.
Sure.
Yeah.
So one of the downsides about investing in bullion for me has always been that in a flat or negative gold price environment, it actually costs you money to hold on to gold, which
Right.
actually undermines the upside of the future gold price to some degree, based on whatever your value parameters are. So then, does this OneGold certificate then not have any management fees on an annualized basis for holding or representing a unit of gold?
So the underlying certificate is the first one that we're featuring is called Vault Chain. It's offered by a technology company called Tradewinds, and that's the first coin, if you want to call it that, that'll be on the system. And that does not have an annual management fee. OneGold itself will charge a small fee based on the value of your account. I can't even quote what that is right now, but it's inside of any other kind of similar organization.
Sure. So then, what is the value proposition for an investor to invest in this relative to bullion?
Okay, it is going to be easier for you to buy the gold, and it is going to be available to you at a much lower spread than what you could get buying the bullion through other ventures.
Okay. And so I'm going to participate in any upside in the price of gold over time as long as I hold the certificate.
Yeah, it's basically getting gold one step closer to being usable as a cash equivalent.
Okay. And so is the plan or the vision rather to make this thing something that I could take a card or load a app onto my phone and use my account to pay for items at a point of sale?
Absolutely. App, wallet, and eventually payment. Yeah.
Interesting. So in opposition to cash, which has a more or less stable value over time, you're using your equity in this investment while maintaining exposure to the upside in gold should there be a rise in the price of gold over time.
Absolutely. You're basically, it's addressing the criticism, which was at least partially accurate, that what are you going to do? Take your gold to a gas station and buy it that way? Well, yes, now you can. Gold needed to come into the modern age and be usable within and without inside and outside the financial system as a method of payment and as a cash equivalent holding. And this is getting it one step closer to being that.
Would this be considered a competitor to gold money?
Yes, it could be. It could be.
Okay.
Absolutely, because gold money does offer storage, and they offer the ability to move in and out of the system on credit and debit cards. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So would it be appropriate to ask you, what is the Sprott organization's outlook for the price of gold going forward into the future?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah, so you mentioned that earlier as to whether gold is gaining or losing versus cash, and I would say cash is actually losing. Okay, cash is losing because you've got inflation, and so the cash is worth less in terms of its ability to buy goods and services going forward. I think gold will outperform cash, and it has actually outperformed cash in almost every year. It doesn't every year, but for the most part, if an individual can say, I can hold US dollars, Canadian dollars in Canada, or gold, I think there is a heck of a case to be made that you should be holding at least a serious portion of your cash in gold, because gold's going to do better than cash over time. It's just more inflation protected.
And so by extension, is silver part of this equation?
It is. Silver will be offered on the OneGold platform as well.
Okay.
So identical that way. Of course, silver is a much smaller market than gold,
Right.
a little bit less liquid. And the proverbial axiom of that market, I think, will hold true, which is when gold moves bullish and is having a bull move, silver will usually move more than gold. It's just a smaller market. It gets squeezed easier.
Sure, sure. So I'm always sort of been I mean, the gold market scares me.
Okay.
Because it strikes me that there's an absence of consistency in the ability of gold to accurately reflect value in the context of actual demand and supply, because there's this layer overlaying the physical gold market that we call the futures market, which trades multiple
Yes.
in the volume of gold on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And sort of doesn't really make sense to me in the context of what the value proposition of a future which used to be a price discovery mechanism, and it now seems to be more a price determination mechanism. And so does the price of gold, and this is one of the reasons why I hesitate to, even though this new platform is going to make it easier and the costs are going to be lower and the risks associated with holding it lower, I'm still concerned that the price of gold is not able to reflect the value of gold because of this futures market disconnect.
Okay. I'm going to break it down if I can. Your concern is valid, and the futures market and macro traders do drive the price of gold, especially in the short term. The trading volume in the gold market would shock anyone in terms of total volume of and dollar value of trades. It's a very liquid market, and it gets driven by macro traders, which influence the price through their trading of the futures markets. So that's valid. But in the long term, gold's price determination will occur based on whether people would rather hold it versus cash or not. Like, the long-term ownership of gold will always be determined by that, and we think favorably so. We think people will rather hold gold than cash in the long run. So then coming back to the first part of your question, does that futures and macro trading, will it hurt me holding gold? Well, I don't think so. I think it's going to help you just as much as it's going to hurt you, because when the macro traders get scared of what's going on in the other markets, they're going to come into gold and drive it higher. I think on balance, it'll be a positive move going forward.
Sure. Interesting. The prospect of owning digital gold, and the reason that email kind of excited me is because I think that in some respects, the generation, the millennials that are now evolving into the mainstream, who would have normally been the avatars of gold as libertarian-minded individuals,
Right.
They've sort of, their attention span has been sidetracked into this cryptocurrency universe, where, the whole discussion of the value and the fungibility and the security and privacy and all of these things, it's interesting to me because the same arguments are actually what drive the argument for gold.
Yes, they are. They're
And so,
philosophically the same.
exactly.
Yeah.
And yet they, uniformly are against the idea of gold as, that's your grandfather's equity. play. Ours is our own digital currency. And this looks like a way to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, they had a point, right? Because cryptos were incredibly easy to trade, mobile or via your crypto trading house, and you could zip them around the internet at lightning fast speeds. And the whole thought that this was a unit of currency that was outside of the fiat-controlled currency systems. And it was super easy to use, and it was also, by the way, going up a lot.
Right.
So it attracted a lot of attention from every type of investor because it was going up a lot. Look, that was compelling, but gold needed to respond to the challenge. Gold needed to attach itself to some of the same technologies to become usable, fast, razor-thin margins, and quite frankly, more appealing to a younger and more technologically savvy user base. So I think it takes a step in that direction.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what is necessary to become a participant in the OneGold system? Do you have to be an accredited investor? Do you have to be a client of size?
No.
Can I be a millennial with $500 to invest?
That's right. You can open an account at any size. You do need to fill out a short client application as you would for almost any kind of website these days. So as long as they know who you are, you can have that account. You can buy and sell and trade at any price. So that's a huge advantage compared to the commercial banking system and even the brokerage systems, which has in many cases account minimums, fairly high percentage trading charges, especially for low transaction values, right? So we're getting past all that.
Interesting. Okay, so where do I go to start this process? I want
Just
to
go
sign up.
online.
Okay.
www.onegold.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great,
Yeah.
Peter. Well, that's a very revealing conversation. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Okay, thanks for having me.